The city never sleeps. Everyone is in a hurry. Rushing through life. Everyone is too busy to stop and appreciate what's around them. But that's not what you get on the river.
You mentioned to people that you live on a boat and it sparks something in them.
If I'm sitting down at my desk and a boat bumps into the side of the boat, I make sounds like, "Oh, it hurts, it's agony, oh, my paint!" And that sort of thing, you know, just to pretend the boat is alive. I don't know if they even hear me, but it amuses me.
Waking up to the sound of young people going, "What do you think would happen if we put fireworks in their petrol tank?" And we're like, "Oh God, please don't do it."
Not many people live on boats, Beth. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but quite a lot. And she's like, no, not really. In my head, it's the way a lot of people live, but I also logically know that it isn't. So I think that's something I find quite interesting.
Want to get a new dog?
I'm still looking for the red ones, just in case.
There aren't loads. There are only like 2, 3 left.
You've already got that corner, I guess. No, there was a corner.
This is a corner.
Yeah, so the corner's fine.
Well done. You're not really very good at them, are you, Gareth? But it's quite therapeutic.
I think I enjoy it. I like putting bits together, and you like finding different colours and things. You like organising them. I like putting them in, so that works quite effectively.
And Gareth quite often comes and rescues us when it's the big white bit at the end. One of the weird things about being on a boat is you can move it, but that means home is where your boat is. So if we go away for a weekend, you're still coming home. If you go for a walk, you're coming home to your boat. I've decided home is where, because I like to cook, I've decided home is where my sharpest knives are.
It's really funny because when we first bought the boat,
The first thing
you made us buy was 3 global knives,
yeah,
and we've
3
still got on the
sharp
boat
knives.
20 years later.
Yeah, so home has to be where your boat is, and it has to be defined by a few very small possessions that you keep close to you. Or your family, obviously where your family. That goes without saying. Not moving swiftly.
I think, definitely my parents have shaped my values and the way I see the world. The conversations I have with my parents, the way we talk about things, has definitely had an impact on me, and I think we might talk about more things or be more open or interested in things because we live on a boat. So I think there is that impact on my values from the way we live.
Raising Beth on a boat has been, I think, generally great.
I can't. I think she must be pretty magical to cope with being a teenager on a boat. But
well, the fact she'll lie down on the beanbag to do her homework because that's the place that's warm at the moment because I've only just lit the fire.
Maybe the love is the answer for everything?
no.
It's definitely the
So
boat.
Life
Don't make
is
me choose.
No, but life is an adventure if you live on a boat, because there's this kind of disrupting thing going on where you have to be able to say, okay, we can cope with that, we can do that. So yeah, life. So in that sense, you have to be up for that, which you don't in a house, do you? But then people have loft conversions in houses and have to live.
They probably don't have to live in a tent for 6 weeks.
Yeah, we did do that.
That was quite a crazy.
People say to me, what do you think? And I'm like, if you're the sort of person who likes to have handbags that match their shoes, okay? So if you're the sort of person who has multiple outfits and your handbag has to match your shoes, you cannot live on a boat. There's just not space. But then we had a friend who lived on a boat who collected vinyl as their hobby.
You get a kind of sound, so it's just literally this length of tube. Here, big fan of Old Nellis. Had the pleasure of playing with the man as well. May he rest in peace. And his son, Christopher, who's worth checking out actually, if you like your reggae. He's in Jamaica at the moment making an album, I think. I don't have many. It's a tiny little photo of me and my brother. My brother, I mentioned earlier that we'd moved away from the area and then came back home because things didn't go according to plan. Well, this is my brother Richard, who was killed in a motorbike accident while we were out of the reason. That's part of the reason we came back. Yeah, so, and that's a photo of me with him. So I got given a cornet and took it home, and my dad said to me, I used to play one of those in the same village brass band, like years, and you know, in the 1950s, which is when the band kind of ended. And I had no idea. And he said, and your granddad used to play in the same band as well. So it was a kind of family tradition that I had absolutely no idea of. And if it hadn't been for that one teacher moving to the village from Wales, I would never have picked up an instrument. It's just, you know, one of those things. It's crazy. So it makes you think, you know, some things are meant to be, perhaps. Bit of fate, I reckon. It kind of chose me. The Labrador, Lola Bear, she was a Labrador Alsatian cross, and she was stray. One day she came onto the boat, had a look around, but I left the door open, didn't want her to feel trapped, and she disappeared again. And I thought, well, she didn't like it. She's gone somewhere else. Perhaps she's got better offers. But anyway, about 2 days later, she came back. And so I opened the door again. She came on the boat and went straight to the sofa, and that's where she stayed for the next 6 years until she passed away a couple of years ago. She couldn't get up and down the steps. She was that poorly. And we just spent the night on a blow-up mattress, all four of us. Anyway, I'm getting emotional about that. But Lola Bear, yeah. There you go. Coffee is served. Yeah, you can't rush anything, as you can tell by the coffee. Yeah, and it's that was one piece of advice that I was given, actually, because obviously I'd never driven a boat or piloted, I think is the correct term, maybe. Yeah. But I'd never had no experience, and somebody said to me, just, you have to take things slowly. But then you've kind of got no choice anyway, because they're not. This isn't particularly fast. I think it does 4 miles an hour, flat out, you know. I have been overtaken by mums pushing wheelchairs. So, and pushchairs, I mean. Having the choice to do other stuff as well is important. So that same year in 2010, I did, on a Friday night, I did the Manchester Evening News Arena with Dizzy Rascal, which is about 13,000 people. On the Sunday night, did the O2 with Dizzy. But on the Saturday in between, I did a dance for some old people in Wisbeach, you know, with a little band playing waltzes, just because it was something that I had to do for the people that I wanted to do it for. I think living on a boat is it can keep you grounded, because, you know, you come back from tour for 2 weeks and maybe your partner's not that keen on emptying the toilet. So within an hour of sort of coming home from the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury, you're pouring shit down a pipe. And so, yeah, there's nothing that keeps you more humble than, you know, pouring somebody else's shit down a pipe. It's fine. I'm very lucky to play a small part in this creative art that brings joy to so many people. And that's really what it's about, you know. And again, that's for me, the boat has played into that, because those are that's the work I can do, because I don't have to necessarily chase everything else.
You seem to have a visitor. Look, I'm sorry, but this really isn't your space. You know, you're a very fine duck, but you're definitely in the wrong place. I quite agree. I suppose I'm a bit of a contrarian person. I actually got into philosophy, which is how I make my living, because I'd won a prize at my school. I think it was for English, but I knew that the person who was going to be presenting the prizes was the local bishop, and so you got a book token basically, or you got to go and buy a book, and you bought the book and then you gave it back to the school, and then they presented it to you on the day. And so because he was a bishop, I saw this book called The Antichrist by Nietzsche, and I basically got into philosophy in order to wind up the local bishop. That should do it, I should think. Part of my work, when I'm not tramping through the countryside with teenagers, my main living is as a philosopher. So I do philosophy for children, online classes and training teachers, and as part of that I've written quite a lot of riddles. So on each side of the boat there is a riddle which is one of my riddles, so people can't Google the answer and find it on the internet. So when I got the boat painted over the summer, I got the chap to put a riddle on each side. So sometimes I'll be sitting here and you'll see people take a photograph, or you'll have a kid like reading the riddle out to their parents and so on. So yeah, I'll never give them the answer, they have to guess. I'll give them clues, but it's one of my absolute principles is you can't just tell people the answer to a riddle.
I think the answer is literally what you're looking at when you read the riddle. Does that make sense? The actual words you read. I think about that. So, yeah, all right. So this sticky up thing here is precisely there, so you don't need some messed up abomination of a knot like this. But, you know, obviously it comes from a place of love, somebody not wanting the boat to float away.
Generally speaking, you're only going at 7 miles an hour, so you're really, really unlikely to have a fatal collision in which you maim somebody else. You know, it's not something that's really the stuff of disaster movies. And so anything you do on a boat, you're doing very slowly, generally quite pleasantly, and there's absolutely no point to whatever you're doing, because you could just be living in a house. That makes it easier to keep that sort of tranquility and to avoid being an angry, cross person or someone who's obsessed with status. When I was a kid, I think I was much more focused around, you know, being famous, writing a really popular book, you know, being a member of Parliament or stuff like that, you know. And I think as I've got older, I have shifted more towards the sort of what you might call the goals that are internal to a practice. I think the more time you can spend before you're dead doing stuff that is worthwhile for its own sake, rather than because you're chasing something else, that's the better.
For me, it's about melody and harmony and content, either lyrically or musically. I need to feel something. I don't want to be thinking in terms of, oh, that's clever. I want it to hit me somewhere emotionally rather than intellectually. Yeah, you can apply the same rules to lives. You know, it's about taking opportunities to be with people that you want to be with, you know, that you find rewarding and fulfilling and, yeah, and perhaps challenging. But those are the kind of things you want from life. What would I like to be remembered? I would like to be remembered as...
Live fast, died young, had a great looking corpse. No. How would I like to be remembered?
Probably somebody who tried to do the right thing by people most of the time. I think that's about all I can ask.
I guess just as someone who was good company.
Yeah, somebody who tried to do the right thing most of the time, who wasn't a complete arsehole.
Somebody who was good company and they had lots of good times with. You know, we'll always eat well, drink well, and have a nice time on the river.
I think wherever you are, you can make special memories, but I think living on a boat, it can be more memorable. Like, there's something more specific to hold on to because we'll often be in a different place.
People ask what's special about living on a boat. I think you've just got to look around, sort of spending so much time outside, spending so much time close to nature.
feeling the changing seasons. It's just fantastic. Life is like a river, and days go by like water in the river. And I guess you've just got to embrace life and not watch it go by.